creeping. Oh, yeah. Squatch-D they're on the case. Steve and Chris, no mystery they can't face. Busting hoaxes, exposing lies. They're the champs of the Bigfoot Mystery. Mystery. Bringing truth, science, and clarity. Squatch-D, they're the real deal. Uncovering the truth, it's time to reveal. Squatch-D, take us on your quest. Find the legend, put the rumors to rest. Late at night, shadows creeping. Deep in the woods, secrets lay sleeping. Oh yeah. Squatch-D, they're on the case. Steve and Chris, no mystery they can't face. Busting hoaxes, exposing lies. They're the champs of the Bigfoot Mystery. Bringing truth, science, and clarity. Squatch-D, they're the real deal. Uncovering the truth, it's time to reveal.
Welcome to Squatch-D, where the truth is first before all else. Join your hosts, veteran investigator, TV personality, and author Steve Kulls, and from the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Project and the Kentucky Fried Fixes channel, Chris Bennett. Sit back and prepare to take yourself on a journey with the longest-running Bigfoot podcast, Squatch-D. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D for today's date, August 28th, 2024. Sorry, I just noticed my camera is really bright, and I'm not quite sure why. Let me just try. There, that's a little bit better.
That's good. You look good.
Yeah, well, I don't want to have, the dome is shiny enough without anything else. Right? So...
What a night, man. It's been a lot of one technical issue after the other, but we got going. That's great. So we're not going to sweat it. We're not going to sweat the small stuff.
Right. I had to fix a few things on YouTube for some reason. Thumbnails got screwed up, and there was going to be a show on Friday night. Yeah. But we've been toying with the idea to throw in an extra podcast on a Wednesday. And unfortunately, the reason why it isn't so crowded in chat today is because really I didn't manage to not get the advertisements out for the show until later than normal.
Sorry guys, you guys catching it on the replay. Thanks, but sorry you couldn't be here live. But hey, man, the notifications thing and everything just got all messed up. But we appreciate you being here for the replay, and to all our live listeners, we appreciate you guys too.
It has been a particularly frustrating Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for Steve. And we'll explain that all tonight. But I am going to see, and I don't even have the title screen up right now. It's so screwed up. There we go.
There's one. Yeah, that'll work.
Well, good morning, Sharon. Sharon's watching over in Belgium.
Sharon.
It's 3:11 a.m.
Wow.
So,
night owl, Sharon. Me too. I'm a night owl. I like that. That's fine.
But let me just throw this out to folks here. The reason why we've been doing nil on shorts, and we've been doing very occasional long form videos. Why? Because what the algorithm has taught us is that our strong point is our podcast. That's where we're getting a lot of our subscribers from and a lot of our watch time and all that stuff. So we're concentrating more on the podcast, and it's a lot more fun that way anyway, presenting information with interaction and questions. So, anyway, that's why we've been toying with the idea of this Wednesday night foray here for a little bit, and it'll be more on a regular basis, probably after September. Although September is a very packed month, especially towards the end of the month, because I have the Pennsylvania trip. So I have the Whitehall event, but Whitehall we should be able to turn around and get a Sunday show in. But
it's summertime. Summertime everything cools off a little bit on the podcast and on the channel because, hey man, I don't blame them. People's outside doing stuff. Okay,
right. Yep.
In the fall and the winter when you're kind of trapped inside and it's cold weather, you don't want to go outside. Then it's everybody gets caught up on the YouTube video watching.
Right.
I'm the same way. But I think we ought to start off tonight by talking about something that a photo that you got a few months back from some guy, and he said, what was it? I think his exact words were "find this on the internet" or "find this somewhere."
Yeah. Let me get the proper folder up because I was running around.
Okay, I'm sorry, honey. We didn't plan to go this route, but I think it'd be the best route to go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So he put up a challenge. He gave you this photograph of supposedly of a Bigfoot,
and guess where
challenged you.
Right. And guess where I found it on?
Yeah,
the Searching for Bigfoot website.
Okay, it was also on the Searching for Bigfoot website. Right. So we know that the person that gave you this photo was also an associate or confidant or whatever of Searching for Bigfoot. That's correct. Isn't it? Okay.
Yep, correct.
So as it turned out, you accepted his challenge, and we both did. And since I'm an avid Bigfoot documentary watcher, I remember seeing this somewhere. So I had to go back through and watch about, I don't know, maybe 11 or 12, I can't remember, documentaries to find it again. And I did find it. And so I made a screenshot of that and sent that directly to you. And the video that it came from was called, what was it? Bigfoot.
Fear in the Woods.
Fear in the Woods. Yeah. Fear in the Woods. And I think that's still available on HBO. If you guys got the HBO online thing, you can go and watch that documentary there. But I can't remember what the timestamp is, but it's round about before the first half of the show.
Right.
And so we released that information that we found it. It was the photo was a hoax.
Yep.
Because he had just taken a screen cap off this show.
Right. And I had in my original summation when we first looked at it made the statement that it looked like it was a screenshot because of the status bar and the very low right-hand corner down here. If you see the cursor going over there,
I remember.
So I said, this is a screenshot of a video. I had no doubt. So
and so we exposed that on the show. Pointed out, that this is indeed a hoax. And this person, who's a known associate of Searching for Bigfoot Incorporated.
And we didn't know that at the time because he was a long time ago. He made a lot of nasty statements about me when I started coming out with the 50 large information. Right. And then he turns around and like a few years later says, I'm not associated with him anymore. I believe he's a hoaxer, yada, yada, yada.
Okay.
So when I saw him give me this picture, and then, of course, I Google searched the picture, and it references Searching for Bigfoot.
Right.
And I was like, well, ain't that something?
Yeah.
Ain't that
coincidence,
something?
Isn't it?
Right. So that's when I started really to know something is up here. Now we have the status bar in there. It's posted very conspicuously on the Searching for Bigfoot website. Right. I'm like, they're trying to trick me again to say wow and make some kind of statement on this thing saying that it's real.
They were trying to involve you in a hoax. It seems like. I mean, that's what I would think.
Correct.
And did it work?
No, absolutely not. I mean, the picture in itself. The minute I saw that bar, I was like, this is a screen cap. And the quality, too. If you look at the picture, you can see the lines in it. And that's what happens when you take a picture of a screen.
Right.
So I knew this was not an original file.
Yeah. And I think, did we do a show on this photo?
Yes, we did.
We did, didn't we?
Well, we did two long form videos on it.
Videos. Okay.
We remember we did the challenge accepted video,
Mhm.
and then we did a follow-up video when he actually tried to lie his way around how he got the video when he got the video. He was trying to make up a whole line of excuses afterwards, still trying to save himself. And it was obviously contradicting to what he was saying before. That was the second video we had done.
Well, I mean, you know, what's a guy going to do? He's not going to throw his hands up and say, "You got me." Right.
So in case people are wondering, Chris is going to be questioning me tonight because I'm in the hot seat tonight. Chris will explain why.
Yeah. So the guy, you know, of course, he denied that. You know, he was. It turns out instead of it being, you know, legit evidence and him saying, "Find this," you know, challenging you to find that photo, he throws his hands up in the air after it's been busted as a hoax, and he says, "Well, look, I was duped. I was duped."
Right, yeah.
And have we heard that before?
We have. We heard it. We first heard it in 2005 when Tom Biscardi did the Stagecoach Nevada, what they call the Stagecoach Nevada hoax.
Right.
And again, I don't think that Biscardi is the originator of the hoaxes.
Yeah,
he knows something's a hoax. He finds out it doesn't matter. He runs with it. And he, unfortunately, ran with it on Coast to Coast AM.
Right.
And then the media world came crashing down on him. And at the time, he had a subscription webcam service where if you paid $19.99 a month,
right,
you can get. And he was talking, well, we're thinking about moving the webcams out to the creature, and so people started subscribing and excited.
Right. So he was selling a subscription service to view this creature online on their website, and he promoted that on Coast to Coast AM. I remember that.
We have. And to quote him, we have scientists looking at it right now.
Yeah. And as it turned out, they never had a creature to show on video, did they?
No. And that's kind of how I met Biscardi, because I took him to task on that. And then Java Bob reached out, and they were in New York, down in the Elmira, New York area. And I just realized my voice is a little raspy, and I'm starting to talk like Jesse Ventura. Let me tell you something. Anyway, you tell me. I can't do it like Will Sasso. But anyway, and by the way, not to foray on a comedy subject, but if anybody just when the show's over with, you gotta Will Sasso, Jesse Ventura impersonations. It's hysterical. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Well, I always liked Randy Savage. You know,
he does Randy Savage.
Yeah, I love those.
Funniest is he does Alex Jones.
So now Tom did reappear on Coast to Coast AM, and it was either George Norrie or Art Bell that took him to task.
It was George Norrie, and after it came down, Biscardi had to come on the show and admit it was a hoax the whole time. Right. And he wasn't involved. He was duped.
Right. He was duped.
Right. Despite saying, all this other information. Oh, I got scientists looking at it and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
This is all very carbon copy. Well, it's not really a copy of it. This is the original. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of interference. Give me 1 second, Chris.
Maybe unplug and plug back in, bud. You're getting a little noise.
Check. Okay, you got me?
Yeah, it's working. Yeah.
Okay, I can't hear you now.
Okay. Well, I'm not muted.
Now I got an equipment issue.
Yeah.
There we go. All right.
Well,
I don't know what's going on. Yeah,
I got now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on. For some reason, I'm getting some electrical interference in my headphones tonight.
Right. So the Stagecoach Arizona thing, very well, they could have, Tom could have believed that the people really had something, but when he said that, he started doing the subscriptions to the webcam, that was pushing things a little bit extreme, I think.
Right.
But anyway, fast forward.
Well, let's fast forward to July.
Well, yeah. After you had exposed this photograph,
right,
sometime between when that was exposed as a hoax and a video came out on searching for Bigfoot Incorporated.com, searching for Bigfoot.com.
Right.
And the video was a hit piece on you.
Absolutely.
You can't describe it as anything else other than a hit piece on Steve Kulls.
Right.
And it starts out, and we're not going to show it.
But because, I'm glad I'm in their mind so much.
Yes.
That they have my name up there bigger than their own logo.
Well, we're not going to show the video because it's kind of hilarious, really. But
right.
It starts off.
And by the way, Chris, I would like to thank Searching for Bigfoot for putting that out there. That's video I never had. And guess what? I'm going to keep some of that video, and that's going to be incorporated when I talk about some of the cases in my lectures. Good. Can't put it on YouTube due to copyright, but I can sure as hell show some of those video clips on my lectures.
There's always a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Right.
So anyway, this video that they put out, it starts out with some text, and they start talking about how Steve Kulls likes to expose hoaxers, but he was doing the same thing. Now wait a minute.
Well, the way
it was worded,
the way I got it was, it said that Steve has made a career of calling people liars. That's what it said.
Yes.
It never used the word hoax. I don't believe it ever used the word hoax in the prose. And the reason why is somewhere I have that prose. That's what it says. You may have heard of Steve Kulls.
Okay, there you go.
Right.
Oh, you may have heard Steve Kulls. Mr. Kulls is the individual that has made a career out of calling many Bigfoot researchers hoaxers and liars. This includes the Searching for Bigfoot research team, who are a favorite target of Mr. Kulls. Well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that.
Tom has been
I would say, yeah.
It's
Mr. Biscardi would be the.
I have never called the team a fraud.
Right.
I would like to see where I've ever called the team a fraud, at least when I was with them.
Yeah.
Right. So that is a completely that is inaccurate, and of course, that's the type of information that the type of misinformation that Searching for Bigfoot has been. And I say that as an organization because it's on their website. That's a thing. And Java Bob used to do that all the time too, is that they put out a little bit of truth, but then they add a lie into it, right? An untruth into it. I've accused of Tom Biscardi being a fraud. Never accused the staff.
Right.
Only accused Biscardi, because the reason why I started contracting with them, I actually purposely got myself a contract position because my goal was to see if they were hoaxing. Right. And if you recall, I had many people in the loop. I had Billy Willard was in the loop at the time, Melissa Hovey, Sean Forker. They were all in this loop with me, knowing what I was doing. And there was one outlier that nobody knew that was part of this group, and that was Matt Knapp from Bigfoot Crossroads. Right. So he knew about it too. So this was all confirmed, and you can always talk to any of those people and confirm that yeah, Steve went undercover to see what he could get. And what I consistently would report back is I'm not seeing anything dishonest done by the team. They're actually making a real good effort to try to figure out what's going on. Right. Tom would only show up if media was coming.
Right. So Tom wasn't actually out in the field with the team.
Many of the times. Okay. Once in a while he was.
He was.
Okay. Once in a while. But even then, I mean, most of the stuff we went to when Tom was there was bullshit because it was the most sensational, right?
Yeah.
Tom would show up to all the sensational stuff, the mundane stuff, like, oh, there's but you see, when we hit the ground, the research team, which was basically three guys and Java Bob would be busy trying to call the media up, trying to get them. And then if the media committed to coming up, Biscardi would fly in if he wasn't in there, and then do his spiel, right? Do his promotion, right? but a lot of times he used to exaggerate some things. And I'll get to that in a bit, but he never really exaggerated enough or bad or anything untruthful until we started getting into the later years. And that's when the minute he did that, I was like, I'm done. When I get back, this is my last mission out. And I left because, unfortunately, at that point in time, I kind of considered the mission successful, but not for the reasons why we think. I couldn't find them hoaxing anything, right?
Right.
But I did find something out, and I'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that brings us on when it shows. Do you have the next clip of text? What it shows at the beginning of the video? Because it says, okay, it says while people like Mr. Cole certainly have the right to their own beliefs, it's hard to believe his claims that others are presenting false information. When he himself spent time with many of those he has accused.
Well, and let me stop you right there again. Yeah. Those he accused. No, I didn't spend the majority of the time with those I accused. I spent some sporadic time with Biscardi, who is the one I accused, not the team. And we got proof of that. Yeah.
And in many of those situations, Mr. Coles has seen, heard, and found evidence in the same manner as those he now says are lying. Well,
I never said they were lying.
That's right.
Never said they were lying. Never.
So what we're trying to do here, we're trying to use words and twist a meaning just because you found Biscardi to be complicit in hoaxing
with the Georgia Bigfoot hoax.
Yes, you did not say that the team was complicit.
Correct. I've always said the team had nothing to do with it. Right, because Biscardi was never present with that suit.
Right.
He didn't fly out there to pick the suit up with the team. The team got it, and it was frozen in ice. Right. So they never got to see it. I got out there after they had already tucked it. I invited myself. Biscardi did not want me there. He did not pay for me to get there. I got there. They picked me up. That was the extent of what they did. They picked me up and dropped me off at the airport. That was the extent of any aid I ever got there. So anyway, I get there and it's frozen in ice.
Wait a minute. Prior to them taking possession of that suit in a freezer, Biscardi did fly down to Georgia, didn't he? Because he described what he saw.
No, well, he flew down on August 1st.
Okay.
Right. And he flew down on August 8th. Okay. And what made the 8th really important was that there was a freezer receipt dated the 8th.
Right.
That, he's claimed that, eventually he would claim, and this is a receipt. I watched this receipt be printed off, handed to Rick Dyer, who in turn handed it to me, because in February of 2009, at the invite of Rick Dyer, he invited me down there. And he said, you can have whatever evidence you want. I'll take you wherever you want to go. And he did, much to his word. He did. And we went to the store. He goes, let me take you to the store where we got the freezer. He showed me the floor model. He explained what they had done with it. And then he said, let me get you the receipt. I don't have one on me. Let me see if they can get a reprint. We go downstairs. We go to the customer service desk. He asked the woman. She prints it off. He takes it from her and he hands it directly to me. And that's what you see in front of you right there. Right.
Well,
and if you look at the date of that was the evening Biscardi flew in. So any words that he says, I only saw it frozen, was baloney, because it took 124 cubic feet of water to fill that up, and to freeze that, it would have took several days.
Right. I saw from the photos, like everybody else, that they had something, a body laying in the freezer with some, looks like bags of ice over it.
Well, yes, because what had happened was, and in the way, and I will get that video out. Like I said, I put it somewhere on my computer and I'm trying to find it. I just refound it. But because I actually found it on my Google on a cloud I had somewhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. So I got it somewhere, including the challenge I did to Dyer and Witten to come on the show. And we'll talk about that in a second.
Right.
But how Dyer explained is they were having trouble just filling it up with water and having the thing actually freeze. So what they tried doing for a little while is dumping ice into it to try to get it to freeze quicker. And that didn't work. So what they ended up doing was draining the whole thing out. And Biscardi came up with the idea of, just filling a layer up, letting that freeze, filling the next layer up, letting that freeze. Right. And eventually they froze it in that manner where they froze it layer by layer by layer and made it quicker. But
so at the time when Biscardi made his visit, we've jumped a little bit ahead of ourselves here, but at the time Biscardi made his visit to the Georgia boys.
Can we put the Bat Mom's comment up real quick? The last one I've spoken to TJ. Here we go. Okay. Absolutely 100% true.
Yes.
He was the one who woke me up at 5. And we stayed up late the first night I flew in, and we were listening to Coast AM. And that's when, we heard about this guy coming through. Well, I know that suit. That's my costume. It's been altered a little, but the face was painted.
Right.
When they took the pictures and they issued the pictures, and I have that too.
Is it possible? I'm not going to ask you to produce it, but is it possible that you would have a receipt for a can of spray paint that was used?
No comment.
No comment.
No comment. I have trump cards.
Unless things could get
right. And tonight we're going to see I have 2 trump cards, and I'm not going to say what the second one is, but we're going to show the first one tonight. And then if the bullshit continues, I'll put it to rest real quick.
Okay.
All right. But anyway, this is, and it took a long time to get that second little pop, but we got it. Anyway. So anyway, this was the email he had sent, and the guy had seen this picture, and he had said, "That's my suit." And he goes, "The face has been altered a little bit. It was spray painted black," which allegedly Biscardi had actually bought the paint at an AutoZone in Jonesboro, Georgia for. And he sent the following statistics. And there it is, email received from Biscardi. And this was the statistics, right? How can you get all these statistics, a picture of this, and then when it comes out fake, oh, I only saw it frozen. Well, obviously, right?
Something doesn't measure up there.
Right, exactly. So anyway,
there were some, but the best I can recall, this has been several years now, but we had a discussion about this in the past.
Oh, look at that. Thank you, Patty, for being a member 2 months. And look what Patty just did.
Patty, thank you so much. Thank you. Very kind. I remember we had a conversation years ago, Steve, and you had said something about Biscardi had described some of the genitalia or something like that. How could he have seen the
genitalia? He said a certain part of the anatomy were big as grapefruits, right, quote unquote.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Again, that's in the book too.
Right. But and we did jump ahead of ourselves. Anyway,
we did a little bit. So now, well, that's this portion we can.
Let's just review a little bit. Okay. After you and I both had exposed the photo as being a screen capture from a Bigfoot documentary, they came out with this little article, this little hit piece on you.
Woodbooger Farms, no.
And they showed that, they said they were going to show proof that you were doing the same thing.
I'm sorry, what was that?
They said the video was going to prove that you were doing the same thing.
Doing what? Doing what?
Well, that's the thing. You were party to the hoaxing that you claim to be busting. But what they showed, they showed was clips of video when you were working for searching for Bigfoot or contracted to searching for Bigfoot.
Right.
And I wanted to ask you about some of those.
And I've done it when we did the 50 large show. I actually had my 1099 that proved I was contracted, not employee compensation. I was not an employee of searching for Bigfoot.
The first film clip they showed, I believe they were talking about the sighting where a creature had stood up in the reeds, and that was somewhere in Texas.
Correct.
If I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Okay. Now, have you ever claimed that sighting was hoaxed, or that anybody in the team was hoaxing anything?
Let me show everybody something real quick. I wanted to put this out there too, and that this was written in 2012, February of 2012. 50 Large came out, so this book is 12 years old, right? And this is what I write, and has always been the story about the Reeds. Is I talk a little bit about in the beginning about Mike Sells, who I did not know at the time, but learned about his reputation afterwards as well.
Later, right.
I talk about the tracks, and I was a little suspect of the tracks, but I kept my mouth shut. And then eventually, that night, the weather was oppressive. And this is the night before that video clip they had me in.
Okay.
That night, the weather was oppressive. It was in the 90s, and the humidity felt off the chart. That night, we had all seen something. Myself, through NVG's night vision goggles, I estimated what I had seen: a tall, no-necked, conical-shaped head, upright figure standing between 7 to 7.5 feet tall. The reason why I could estimate its size, it was standing in a thicket of reeds near the swampy part of the lake, which stood at the 6-foot level. Its head and shoulders above the thicket. It was above the thicket when it looked up. The next night, we had a similar experience, with the exception of we had an ABC cameraman there by the name of Bob Hallmark, who saw it as well through a thermal imaging device. Hallmark went on to say, in his opinion, had changed and relayed that he had seen something. So basically, he said his opinion had changed on Bigfoot, in that he had seen something. What I do know is that it would have been near impossible for someone to be dressed in a costume running through that area of the swamp at night.
Yes.
Right. So I said, but I know Sells was involved with several others whom I had not met or met with the team on that trip. And, but that's what I say about that. I never said that searching for Bigfoot hoaxed anything or called them liars about that. That's
right. You
so
never
I don't
said anybody in the team ever hoaxed that, correct?
Right. Exactly. And there was some splashes going on in the lake that we kept hearing, and we debunked that as it being a very large turtle that kept popping into the water. But it had nothing to do with the NVG sighting I had the night before. And I don't really consider that an encounter. The reason why I say I've had 2 encounters is because I saw that with these things, not any piece of equipment or anything like that. I saw it with my own eyes. And that's the only way I consider it really that I've seen a Sasquatch. So,
how is that evidence that you were hoaxing anything? I mean, because
they're trying. I think I don't see them saying I was trying to hoax anything. I think they were saying that, Steve was part of these guys, and now he's calling them liars. Why would he say that? Then, why would he say it was real then and call it a lie now? Well, I'm not calling it a lie now. I never have. No, I haven't. Never have.
Yeah. You never said that sighting was hoaxed? Never.
No.
I remember this. Okay. So
I laid out the possibility. There were other team members that I didn't meet, but to me, it seemed impossible, especially the area of the swamp was running in.
Right.
And the speed was like, no, I couldn't be. So, I don't believe it was a man. I can't say 100% certainty, but nobody on the team are liars or hoaxers.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Right. Okay. And
not even Biscardi that night.
Okay, let's move on to the next clip that they show on this video. Okay, it's best I can remember. This is one where they showed the dead cow, the remains, and then
we just talked about that a couple of weeks ago, didn't we?
Yeah. I think that was Alabama.
Alabama. It was near Enterprise, Alabama.
Yeah,
and remember, we had just talked about that a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
Did I even mention the team? Did I ever mention anything about a hoax? No, it was one of my most interesting events. And what I wrote in 50 Large about was in November, we had gone to Alabama, investigated a cattle mutilation with tracks found nearby near Chancellor. The tracks had been found by an eventual Bigfoot researcher, Chuck Reel, and his friend Mike Sims. When we arrived at Chuck's home, we told him we'd like to go out to that area that evening. So post haste, we all mounted up and proceeded to a cow pasture in southern Alabama, not far from the Florida state line. Upon arriving there, both I and another team member, Jim Snell, which were the only two using night vision equipment. Jim was using a thermal. I was using my NVG. I loved using the NVGs because I could move around with them on and stuff. And the film shows that. Had observed a dark, hairy biped walking across the cow pasture into a wooded area. Right? The unknown subject, according to Snell and the thermal imager, was that of being a solid, bright color, indicative of something not in clothing, as a subject in clothing would show varying degrees of heat in different areas depending on layers.
Right.
I ran up to the area and could hear it walking through the wooded area, but having no backup, I decided to stay put. After all, the thing was killing cattle.
Right.
We spent several hours debating amongst ourselves whether we had been set up. But after deliberation and the fact that we made the trip impromptu, we made the impromptu demand to see the pasture, we determined what had occurred was legitimate.
Okay. That's cool. And, at this time, you never said it was something. I remember we just did the show. It was
we
one
just
of
did
your
the show 2 weeks ago. I've never
most
said
exciting.
it. I even blogged about it.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it was my old blogger account or if it was, I think it was on my blogger account before I switched to WordPress. And then now I'm not even using that. But
so that another example there, that's not saying anything bad against searching for Bigfoot. Their team was on the ground. They were investigating a
listen,
footprint
the team, when they were left to their own investigative decisions, was legit as any team out there.
Yeah.
Always said that.
Okay.
Because we're just looking for the truth. And believe it or not, TJ, Tom's son, that's why I wanted to make sure that comment was up. TJ was not in there. Nobody was in there.
No. I like TJ, yeah.
Right? You've got to understand throughout the whole Georgia thing, the only time the team ever met Dyer and Winton was when they picked up that 1,500 pound, because it was frozen, it was 1,500 pounds frozen with the suit in it, and it was frozen solid. So they couldn't tell right away if it was frozen or not.
Right.
And Biscardi was not there. He was still in California. And then as soon as the guys took off with the suit, Dyer and Winton took off with the money, and then they flew out to California to meet Biscardi to have the unfortunate press conference, Bigfoot Black Friday.
Right.
Which I missed because I was in the air.
Right. So the team, they were doing their job. And you never called them hoaxers, any of them.
Not once.
I'll
tell you what, I was out there with TJ, former Army Ranger. And I was out there with Jim Snell, former Marine.
Right.
Or I should say, former, former Marine.
Military.
Military. Solid guys to be out there with. That was the team for most of the time. And then eventually Java Bob joined along. Java Bob was out for some reason or another, but maybe he was sick or hurt or whatever. But whatever the case is a solid team. Solid,
Right.
And TJ was a big skeptic at the time. So we were all out there and just doing our thing, and it was actually a good vibe.
Yeah.
The only time the bad vibe came was when Biscardi showed up, because then he wanted to do this and do that and do this and take command. And truthfully, he's no field commander and he's very amateur.
So I think, we're kind of running a little bit short on time here. So
we can run a little over. It's fine.
Okay. Well, the next clip, there's somewhere you were mentioning railroad tracks, and there was a vocalization, a howl. Do you remember where that was at? You mentioned
that I don't know. That I don't remember. I don't even remember it. I don't even remember it writing in the book.
Yeah, you were near some railroad tracks, or you're going towards some railroad tracks, wherever this location was at, and you guys got a howl, recorded a howl on audio.
Okay.
Did you have any reason to believe that was hoaxed?
No, not at all. Not at all. I that one just lost me. I just oversight. Don't remember it. May have happened. Obviously, if there's film of it, it happened.
Yeah.
I don't remember it though.
Okay.
So,
well, again,
and if I don't remember it, how can I call him lying about it? You got to understand that I traveled on and off with them at a month at a time, or so we'd be on, and we would go out maybe every 3 months or every 2 months. We would go out.
Right.
We'd be there out in the field for about 3-4 weeks, come back. wait, have a month off, and then come back and do it again. And I did that from roughly, I want to say, I did one trip with him in 2006. And then I was invited back as a contractor. And the reason why they wanted me in 2006 was the Kentucky ORV thing was going on. And so I had a lot of intimate knowledge about that. And they needed a PI, a private investigator, to go out there and kind of do a little background stuff that was going on there. And I did. I provided intel for them and actually found out that we were being spied on. Great story, but not for tonight.
You were contracted with searching for Bigfoot.
Yeah, I would say it was probably like September of 2007, maybe August of 2007. And I was with them only for about 7 or 8 months, I think, as a contract. I went from September of 2007. I think I did 3 or 4 trips. I know I made a couple of trips to the Four Corners area where I got to meet Leonard Dan and J.C. Johnson. I made a trip out to see Chris Bennett.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. And,
I know you and I have talked about this before, but I don't think the audience knows this. But you had more or less decided to stay on with searching for Bigfoot unless something happened.
Correct.
And,
unless
can you talk about that? What?
So I would, and the minute my whole goal there was to gather as much intelligence as I could about the organization. And it came to a point, I forget where, I think it was actually in Arizona. And what I used to do is I used to say, Bob, I'll give you my pictures. You want to do a picture swap? Because we were all taking pictures.
Right.
Sure. So he would hand me his flash drive. Well, on that flash drive were financials for finding for Bigfoot. And I looked at it, and after I got him, I took him home. Because I was like, oh, I want to investigate this. And it was very clear. And then there would be times when conversations about business would happen in another room. They didn't want me in the room, but for some reason, the Scardy talks loud.
Right.
Let's face that. So I would be in bed or whatever, trying to sleep, and I would overhear them talking about stuff. And one involved around one of their presidents wanting out. He was wondering why he was getting no return on investment, and he wanted out. So they paid him to get out with his dividend. Right. But they took it from investor money, not from what was in the cash till.
Oh,
right.
Wait a minute.
And we all know what that's called, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's called a Ponzi.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you start paying investors with new investment money to keep them placated and dividends like that to keep it going. Right. And then there was the other thing that
what happened in North Carolina with the lizard man thing?
Sure. So what had happened was we go out to North Carolina, and I talked about that on the weirdest cases too.
Yeah. Recently.
Right?
Yeah.
So did I call anybody hoaxing there? No. What I said is that I had determined that was canine. There was blood on it. I bet you, and it was going for DNA testing. And I got interviewed for it and said, hey, it was canine. And then Biscardi got interviewed, and he made the claim, you ain't got a lizard man here. You got a primate. And I knew he was full of shit and lying about that. Because I had told them those are canine bites. But instead, he needs to sell a story so he can sell his movies and he can sell his provenance, right? Create provenance, right? As this world famous Bigfoot researcher. And obviously, it was not anything. It was a dog. And it turned out the blood ended up being a dog. Biscardi didn't care because he was getting that press that day. But after seeing that, I got so disgusted. I said, that's it. I'm friggin' done. We get back a week later or maybe 2 weeks later because we had a couple of other stops.
Yeah.
And, we go back out to California with all the equipment. And then I hop a flight back to New York. I tell them I'm done. And that's when I ended that. And like I said, the only reason why I ever got involved with the Georgia Bigfoot body thing is because I challenged those guys to come on my show, and they mentioned Tom Biscardi.
Yes.
And in some of the credits, I think they make mention that they try to state that I was the one who introduced Biscardi to them, or I introduced them to Biscardi. I was the one who did that.
They were your associates.
And
That's
they were
what it
my
was.
associates.
Yes, right.
And if you look at the police report, which states the chronology of events, and this is very true, and this is interesting because it says, according to Mr. Kulls, I never talked to the police, so I don't know how in the hell they would ever get a statement from me. They never questioned me on anything like this. But after the whole thing, there was an attempt at filing charges on Dyer and Witten for the theft of the $50,000. And as it turned out, but anyway, let me get back to this. So they file he's trying to file charges, so the police open an investigation, and it was a Clayton County Police Department, and I actually foiled the paperwork, and there is the whole outlay of that. This is the envelope that the police report came in. If you can even zoom, there it is, Police Headquarters Building, Jonesboro, Georgia.
Right.
Right around there, Mr. Steve Kulls. So yeah.
Well, see, at the end of that, they're showing a video clip of you on the phone talking.
Well, hold on. I want to get to that.
Okay.
But anyway, as far as them, it says right there on 25th, 2008, I asked them to come on my radio show, and I did. I did a challenge video because they were on YouTube. I did a challenge video back at them on YouTube. And guess what? They came. They said, we'll come on. Right. So on July 28th, Mr. Steve Kulls interviewed Mr. Ricky Dyer for over 1 hour on the phone. That was the Blog Talk radio show we had done first.
Right.
He affirmed his claim he possessed the remains of a Bigfoot creature. And during the interview, Mr. Dyer asked if Mr. Kulls knew a man named Tom Biscardi. Right. Yeah. I didn't say, oh, you got to meet these guys. They started asking me about him.
Right.
So following Tom. Right. So following interview, Mr. Dyer, Mr. Kulls, with Mr. Dyer, Mr. Kulls spoke on the telephone with Mr. Biscardi, and according to Mr. Kulls, it was agreed that Mr. Biscardi would look into the claim by Witten and Dyer. Right. Now, Chris had asked me in free. He goes, "Did you call them, or did you give them Tom's number, or No, I believe I called. I called Tom and gave them their phone number. I said, they just said on the show they want to talk to you. And so it's up to you whether or not you want to talk to them. But I'll talk to them." And 2 hours later, I get a phone call back from Biscardi. I think they got it. Right.
Okay.
Right. So that's how that all kind of, right.
It clears up a lot.
Right. So they were ever associates of mine. They were making these brash YouTube videos. Cryptomundo was writing. So I challenged them. And I even said in my challenge, I don't think you've got a Bigfoot body.
And then while they were on your show, they asked you about if you knew Tom Biscardi.
Correct. And there's the proof in the police report.
But see, that was the thing. That was Rick Dyer setting up the hoax, because he already knew that you were associated with searching for Bigfoot. Right. He already knew that.
Oh, absolutely. He did his homework.
Yeah.
And the other thing is he first tried to target Matt Moneymaker. Right. I'm certain of it, because he was making a lot of BFRO comments in the beginning off the shoot.
Yeah. So we fast forward to the end of the Bigfoot hoax, the Bigfoot body hoax.
Right.
And you had busted that thing. You exposed it, and the best I can remember, I saw you on Fox News, man, or at least I heard your voice on Fox News.
Right.
And what did it turn out to be?
It was a suit stuffed with animal parts. And there was a point in the video. It's an edited video. When I'm on the phone with Witten, at that point, my only goal there was to get the money back for the investor Bill Lett. Right. And Bill Lett had dropped, it was the one who fronted the money. Right.
Right.
And there's the actual receipt right there. Again, from the police report. Right.
Right.
Right. So
you were speaking to, best I can remember, during the phone call clip, that was Matt Witten. You were speaking to him on the phone.
Correct.
And you were more or less acting as a representative of searching for Bigfoot and the investor. to try to get the money back.
I was just acting there as a guy trying to get the money back from Witten and Dyer, because they had flown out the night they had gotten the money, and by the time, in talking with the team, they told me, well, they left like around 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. By the time they got the thing loaded and out of there was like 6 in the evening. The banks would have been closed, and they flew that night to California. So where the hell's this money? It didn't go into a bank, and they've been in California. When I'm talking to them, they're still in California. So either one, they took the money with them, or two, they ended up, leaving it behind or stashing it behind somehow. Right. So my goal was, listen, I know even if the money's in the bank, just give the money back. And what I was trying to do, in fact, it's funny. They act like that's some secret, but right here in the book, right here in the book,
50 large.
There was a lot of conversation as to how to prosecute the Georgia boys. Witten and Dyer both had stated they no longer had the money. As an investigator, I knew that was impossible. They had accepted the money late Thursday night and flew out Friday morning before the banks were open, bound for Biscardi in California. Biscardi put me on the phone with them as a three-way call.
Yes.
Right. And I spoke with Witten, whom I quickly learned was actually second fiddle to Dyer in their operation, because he was asking Dyer, what should I do? I appealed to Witten's police side and told him I knew they had the money and that there was no way they could have put it in a bank, and there was no way they could have spent that amount in the few hours before embarking for California. Witten asked me to put me on hold. After a long pause, Witten came back on the phone and said that they would only talk to Biscardi.
Right.
They cut that all out, didn't they? Instead,
it was in there. It was a little bit at the end.
Right. Instead of Biscardi jumping in, since it was a three-way call, no, you deal with Steve. He just said, okay. And that ended the call. Yeah. Right. To me, this was
that part out. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, this was tantamount to a script. Something wasn't quite right. And of course, the next day with his NDA bullshit and then putting all the pieces together. But I would later learn from Dyer that what Witten did was in actuality talk to Biscardi, who told them, just tell him you only want to deal with me.
Right. So after the hoax had been exposed and, when the body had been exposed as being a hoax before it got out to be public knowledge, Tom wanted to do something with the NDA. Can you elaborate a little bit about that, what he wanted everybody to do?
So what he tried doing was getting us to, all right, boys, here's what we're going to do. We're all going to sign an NDA and say that all the press, the boys got too nervous and they took their body back and they went back to Georgia, and we just won't talk about it again. And then he went around the room.
Did you sign one?
Nope. I was the one who objected, so the NDA never flew. It had to be a unanimous decision, otherwise they would look like liars.
Right.
So I literally went out of that garage that we were kind of our base camp there. I went out of that garage and I came out and I grabbed a lawn chair and I launched it across the friggin' lawn. I was that angry. Yeah. And then they all come out, what's the matter, Steve? I'm not going to fucking cover up with another fucking hoax. And that's right. No. Nobody's saying you should. And again, to their credit, the team was like very supportive. No, that's fine. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. Right. But Biscardi, when he was called back, and I was there when they called him back, and Java Bob explained to him that Steve doesn't want to do it. All right, bye. That was the last time I ever heard Biscardi's voice on the phone. Right. Well, there was one other exception, and that was after I started exposing him little by little, about a month after or 2 months after the hoax it was exposed. He called me up, even though I sent him a cease and desist to contact me. He called me up and left me a voicemail. Oh, come on, Steve. Time to put the family together. Fuck him. Pardon my French.
So instead of Mr. Biscardi announcing to the press at that moment, look, this is a fake body, And these guys
Biscardi,
from Georgia are hoaxers.
After that Sunday, Biscardi disappeared under the guise of not feeling well for a week and a half, right? He put me in front with a statement I had crafted that Java Bob had edited, kind of exonerating a little bit of the SFB. And the way I worded it was the SFBI team, because I knew they had not done anything wrong. I had realized I'm trying to put things together in my head, and something wasn't quite making sense. And at the very end of it, and this was the goal, if people are wondering what the hell was the goal, was Biscardi had planning having the Fox people come out that filmed the alien autopsy video and do a Bigfoot body autopsy. Now, if we were all under NDAs and couldn't discuss it, under penalty of a lawsuit, they could sell that documentary for a pretty penny and leave the whole thing shrouded in mystery. But because I remember his thing, he listen, boys, we got a story behind this, and all of us can make a lot of money provided nobody goes cowboy on us. And I felt the entire room look at me. So here's what we're gonna do. I forgot that preamble, and I remember when he was saying that, and we nobody, we can't have anybody going cowboy on this. And all of a sudden, I'm like, yeah, that was that right for me, right. And of course, I went cowboy on him, which a man of integrity would.
Yes.
I'm not, I am a person's given one fucking integrity, pardon my French, and I am not going to sell out it for money. Sorry, it just doesn't work that way. When I say
you were offered the opportunity to participate in an ongoing hoax, and you refused.
Right.
And that offer to participate in an ongoing hoax made that person a hoaxer, didn't it?
Well, considering I'm pretty sure this was all pre-planned from the beginning, and he didn't really touch it, feel it, smell it like he had told all the outlets. Yeah. At that point in time, beginning, but I had no proof other than that. I did not know that the freezer was bought on the 8th. I didn't know what he had seen down there. Maybe he did see it frozen. Maybe
if you put all that aside, Steve, you put all the Bigfoot body aside. Let's say Tom found out at the exact moment you pulled that rubber foot out of the freezer that it was a hoax. Okay, what did he do? Did he expose the hoax at that moment?
No, he wanted to cover it. He wanted to cover it up with an NDA. And that made no sense. They didn't want to give the money back, and he wants to protect them by signing an NDA, and he was going to make the claim that they got nervous and took the body back. But I don't get it. How are we going to make money in this story? And the reason why we were going to make money, he was going to make money in the story, was he was going to have, because he had said to me earlier in the week, I got these guys from Fox coming down. And eventually when I talked to Dyer told me, he had these guys that did the alien autopsy thing. They were coming down, and that was his goal. He wanted to do some film about a Bigfoot autopsy. And then it all made sense.
The anatomy of a Bigfoot.
Because what's the end game if you're in on it, right? We're going to find out eventually that it's a dud, right?
Right.
So that it was like I had the facts right here from being on scene, and there was missing puzzle pieces, and everything Dyer said fit those puzzle pieces perfectly. Right. And he was being cool. He wasn't doing anything nefarious at the time. He wasn't doing crazy car videos. He wasn't, doing any other body hoaxes.
Well,
and then about a year later, he calls me up and says he has another body, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, when we pull it out there, just drive it up to my house, and I'll take a look at it.
Right. Well, that's the thing about Rick. Nothing against Rick Dyer. I mean, I'm sure he's probably a fun guy to hang around.
Nick, let me stop you there, damn it. The people there, I have nothing against. You got to understand, they agreed to the NDA because they were under Tom's thumb. The filmmaker was getting paid by Biscardi on a regular basis. Java Bob had a shares in the company, as did TJ.
Right.
When your CEO says no, who stood up? Me, the contractor. And to Leonard Dan and JC Johnson, when this all went down, And I think this was kind of purposely, because I remember them saying, is Bill there? No, he went with JC and Leonard to get food. And he's like, okay, good, let's talk. Right. So you have this, he was very careful not to get everybody involved. And I remember talking to JC and Leonard about that, and they were pissed. They were like, whoa. And they were like, yeah, this is bad. Leonard was like, this is bad juju, very bad juju.
Right.
And to my knowledge, they never traveled with him again either.
So as a result of this offer for everybody to sign an NDA that came from Mr. Biscardi, you judged that he would be one of the type of guys that would hoax somebody, didn't you?
Who, Biscardi?
As a result of that offer?
Oh,
because
yeah.
He was going to go along with the hoax.
Right. He was going to go along with the hoax,
right.
And he was going to create yet another hoax, and then to find out the ultimate motive of that. But that's just a tip of the friggin' iceberg.
I understand that.
Remember what we talked about. Let's go back to the financial stuff. That the whole provenance behind that was to make money, to make a quick buck. This Bigfoot thing was just a vehicle. It was never. The only reason why he had a research team out there is because he needed material. Right? And he needed an excuse to sell it to people. Hey, I got a team out there, and I'm going to have this hell of a museum, right? And he had gotten so much money out of museums and for museums. In fact, should I show that slide now? The Trump card that I was talking. One of the Trump cards.
I don't think we should go there, Steve.
The names are not on there.
Well, it's up to you. It's up to you.
The names are not on this. I have moved the names, but there you have it. This was the dates and the money received from investors. Now, I've blocked the investors' names out for their privacy, right? But as you can see, they were receiving a lot of money. Right. And that's, what they were. And then just unbelievable. So that's Trump card number
40% return. That's pretty good. Right. If it wasn't paid out of the new investors.
Right. And, the amazing thing is that the company that this is from no longer exists. So there is no retribution for this. They converted to an LLC and went public as Bigfoot Project Investments. And then that was sold to another investor or some other guy down in Texas and changed the name of it and created something else. I don't know what possible, how that possibly happened.
We talked about that a long time ago.
Right. We talked about that. So SFBI is not a legit company anymore, unless they're LLC'd in California. But that's at the time this was going on, it was a different corporation incorporated out of Nevada, like the rest of the stuff.
Right. Pretty much the searching for Bigfoot went out of, well, I don't want to say out of business, but
no, they're still in business, but they're not the same. They're not, hard to say if they're a corporation or what they are nowadays.
Right. Their business went downhill after the Bigfoot Georgia body hoax. Georgia Bigfoot body.
Right. And just to show you the reach, okay? Just in this live program tonight, right, on their short notice, we've had a high of maybe like 38 people in chat. Not a very big high show.
Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah,
but it was very quick put out there. I only put this show out an hour and a half before it aired, right? Okay, so you guys had an hour and a half heads up on this show. The video that they put out over a month ago, had only garnered, when I looked at it, 18 views. 19 views.
Well, yeah, right? But
so nobody's really using them for a resource for anything.
That's the thing. I think there's a reason behind. Well, the video is kind of laughable because it claims that you said that they were hoaxers, but you never claimed that about the team.
Nope.
The team were straight up. I know TJ and all, great guys. But there was
I was very disappointed that TJ would of course, well, I should have expected he was going to side with his father. I thought maybe as a former Ranger, he would show a little bit of military pride in the creed and being an honest person. But,
yeah, but
you know, his
blood is thicker than water.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And you can't hold it against TJ for standing with his dad. I know you may have a differing opinion.
No. Hey, you know what? I understand it. Let me
understand,
just
right? Understand.
And because of that, unfortunately, that breaks the friendship because I can't ever trust him. The fact that TJ is still part of the organization and they're still attacking me.
Well, there was one person that refused to sign that NDA, and that was Steve Kulls.
Correct. And then the team all tried to deny that.
Okay.
Now,
well, we know for a fact you didn't sign.
Yeah, they all said they were, and I will admit, they all seemed a little bit reluctant, but they caved.
Yeah.
You know, and again, do I hold that against them? No, not necessarily.
Because you know what? I do.
Well, no, I explained why. Because they all had a piece of that company.
I know. Right? I can.
But I'll tell you what. If I had a piece of the company, I'd be like, honesty is the best policy. We need to do this way. Instead, I was like, instead, I just kind of like, I need to think, and I walked out. I was so pissed off, and I told them, I'm not fucking signing nothing. And then they had to call Biscardi back with the sad news. Well, and I think really Java Bob, after I had said that, Java Bob was kind of like, well, maybe you should Steve doesn't want to do it, and maybe you should rethink about that idea too. Right. So, and Bob did for what it's worth, the team understood 100% my rationale for not doing it, my integrity, and they understood that. So I don't mean to put the team down when I say they caved, and I don't want it to come down on that way. No. I understand their reasoning for doing things. Sometimes people will make this bad decisions sometimes, or decisions we might morally think is correct, but under their circumstance, maybe it was the right thing to do for them.
Well, Steve, you did the right thing.
It was never right, and it was never right for me in any aspect for my integrity. I can sleep at night after making that decision, whereas if I made that decision, I wouldn't be able to friggin' sleep for months.
If you had signed that, you would be complicit in covering up a hoax.
Correct, and it would have gone on for friggin' years. Gone on for years. And no, we're ending this shit now, today. Done.
So, that's that. I mean, in your opinion, the Mr. Biscardi, for what he did. No, we're not going to talk about the financial stuff or anything like that, but just the offer of the NDA and the plan to kind of cover it up. That is what makes him a hoaxer.
Well, eventually the evidence came out to prove that he was complicit the entire time.
We understand that. Yes. But just the NDA, wanting to cover it up.
Right.
That's enough to do it without anything else.
Correct. Right. And I have a feeling that, that it was a carbon copy almost, except for on a grander scale of the Stagecoach Nevada event. Except the vehicle to make money was a little bit different.
Yeah. This is going to turn into the anatomy of a Bigfoot, just like Alien Autopsy. This is going to be
instead of with their pathetic film, Anatomy of a Bigfoot Hoax, which showed no evidence, just them talking. Just like this video, it shows them nothing but talking.
Right.
So, and I know they're watching this, and I know it's burning their ass. Again, thanks for the video. I can't wait to use some of that, because when I talk about a case of a cattle mutilation in Alabama, now I got some video to show of me in the field dealing with that. That's great. Love it. And number two, we're not done yet.
Yes, Steve, but we're not doing this to burn anybody's chaps, okay?
I'm burning their chaps because
this is just exposing the truth and discussing what they posted in the video.
I understand that, Chris, but they got to understand that when they put out baloney evidence like that on the attack of me, calling me a liar, right? Hey, guess what? You've just made this personal. And guess what? Thanks for the video. Thanks. Now I have some video to show in my lectures about some of the things I talk about. Thank you. Right? And the fact they also prove once again that they put a video out with no evidence except nothing but this. Nothing. You know what? I've showed a bunch of people some documents, legal documents that I didn't even create. I mean, let's not even talk about their, I remember in 2015 or thereabouts, there was a blog I had put up, and that may be on my WordPress blog. I didn't really have time over the last day and a half to conjure that one up out of history because I just had other things going on. But, there was the whole thing about David Nielsen, who at the time was their CFO when all this went down. Their CFO was a guy by the name of David Nielsen, Nilsen, and he was the founder, owner of Cedar Funding, which was a mortgage investment company, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. And this was kind of like the epilogue to 50 Large. And he was their CFO. Let me see if I can't pull up some proof because I come with the proof. Right. And there it is. It's coming up now. So there is a copy of a part of and you can see even the binding on it because I scanned that. That was their business plan. And I was never given their business plan. I was a contractor, right? I got this in February of 2009. It was handed to me by Rick Dyer. Okay. Rick Dyer got a business plan just to show you how in bed Biscardi was getting with them. I, as a contractor, never even saw that. And it's a good damn thing because there were so many lies. And that's a whole nother story for another night.
There's a lot of stuff people can learn by looking at your book, 50 Large. And I know that book is 12 years old now.
Right. And it's not about being for sale. I mean, this is not what this is about, selling a book.
Right.
To me, this is about setting the record straight in case anybody happens to see that bullshit. Now they know the truth and I'm responding to that video.
Right.
If you look at this, you see that in 2009, there was a federal grand jury charge indicting David Nielsen on multiple fraud charges. And you know what those fraud charges were? A Ponzi scheme.
Well.
Cedar Funding was a Ponzi scheme. Right. So, strangely, even after the indictment, Biscardi enters a foreign corporation, which technically means it's a company that acted outside of Nevada, but incorporated themselves in Nevada, right? And it was called New Limited Concept Incorporated. In October, now, we'll get to that in a minute too. October 2011, Nielsen pleads guilty to the conspiracy to commit mail wire fraud. And in 2012, March, he is sentenced to 97 months in prison in order to pay over $69 million in restitution.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. Now, the funny thing is that when Bigfoot Project Investments, which was what SFBI became after that, around, I want to say about 2013, I was contacted by the Wall Street Journal. Reporter's name was Yogita Patel. And Yogita was talking to me and asking me about this because she knew I was a big Biscardi detractor. Right. And then I told her, I said, what you want to do is look at the Cedar the Cedar Mortgage David Nielsen case in Monterey. I said, you will find if you go to the trustee, you will end up finding out that money from Cedar Mortgage or Cedar Funding went to searching for Bigfoot. About 3 weeks later, she called me back and said, it did. Right. So there was money from that Ponzi scheme or Cedar. There was checks written to searching for Bigfoot by Cedar Funding. So I don't know if that was used to, relieve some of the pressure on what's going on with this, because when you get over a number of periods, $450,000, the majority of it to build museums, and even in your own business plan, in this business plan, there's a lot of talk about museums. He was in business from 2006 to just, I think, was it a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, the whole thing shut down under Bigfoot Project Investments. So from 2006 to 2022, he received all this money for Bigfoot Project Investments, making claims he's going to open up a museum here. And then all of a sudden that doesn't work out. And then it's a museum there, and that doesn't work out. And then there's a museum there. The man received a lot of money for museums, some of which like I said, that sheet proves, because I have that sheet says exactly where that money goes, what it was for.
Do you know if any of the museums ever opened?
Never. So you're telling me from 2006, when you start asking for money for museums, straight through to 2024 or 2022, say, when this all closed down,
or roundabouts, whenever, yeah,
you don't put up one single museum, but you're taking investment money all these years about museums. That's an issue. And then what happens is, well, our movies did well, and then you find that money and pay, and you keep them pacified and push them aside, and then grab some more money from somebody else about museum. And meanwhile, you're taking out here, taking out here, taking out here. And guess what the friggin' payoff was when they went public? And then when they sold it, and they got themselves out of that little scheme in the black. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. And guess what?
I think, guess what? Come roundabout.
It's not slander. It's not libel, because this was written 10 years ago. It beats all statute of limitations. And what I'm doing here tonight is quoting and talking about points made in this book.
Yeah, it's all in 50 large.
All in 50 large.
Well, this has been interesting.
Right. What a journey.
But, it all boils down to, they tried to make a hit piece on you because you exposed that video frame capture as a hoax. And I just don't really understand the point. I mean, everybody knows they showed these clips of when you were contracted with searching for Bigfoot. And what does that prove? That proves that you were with.
So just so you know, they can put all the video and talk all they want. I come with the evidence. I come with there is right from the Secretary of State of Nevada back when I printed it up when I was doing research for 50 large, May 26, 2011. Right. Stay right there.
Publicly available. Right.
So see, they do a lot of talking and show some video that means nothing, right? But meanwhile, I have a folder full of documents,
right?
Statements from the police, statements by the team, statements by other third-party witnesses to this right here, taken by the police.
Right.
And that's what sunk Java Bob on the whole thing of being afraid of his life and fear of his life way back when. And I pointed out that I have your police report here, and you don't make any mention of that at all. And that kind of shut him up right in place. Now, I don't want to talk bad about Bob. I heard his health may be in
well, we certainly wish Bob good health.
Absolutely. Listen, I understand sometimes that people will play the part of minions for other people. I know who's behind it. I know who the real turd in the bowl is. So I'm not worried about it. And unfortunately, that's a shame, because you know what? I always said this, that if you took Biscardi outside of Bigfoot, he was kind of a nice guy. But the minute you put him in that environment, as I used to say, you put him in that environment, instant asshole.
Well, it seems to be
I hate to be
a money-making thing.
I hate to be that vulgar or that sound like I'm name calling, but I've seen this guy, talk very nicely to a person on the phone, hang up, and then go on and call this guy a piece of garbage, or call whoever was a friggin' idiot, right? But it's kind of funny because if it's not his production, like obviously Shooting Bigfoot and not your typical Bigfoot movie by Wayne and Dallas by Wayne Burton and Dallas Gilbert,
right.
the great Dallas Gilbert. You will you will see his nasty side to him a lot of times.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Like even
I have nothing personally against Tom Biscardi. I have nothing personally against searching for Bigfoot. And as far as I'm concerned, I didn't like the Stagecoach Arizona thing, but I could kind of look over that. But now, when we came to the Georgia body hoax, okay, now if Mr. Biscardi would have come out and said, "Look, these guys hoaxed me, okay, we're exposing this. We're exposing this. They told me it was real. We found out it's not real. This is what it is. It's a rubber foot, folks."
Right.
Now, I would have had utmost respect for that man, but instead he tried to go a different route. And because he tried to go that different route, that's when I'm out. I'm out.
And you know what? If people think I'm being so flipping unfair, I would not even state that Biscardi was involved until I had the rock solid evidence.
I remember that. You wanted to do an interview. You made people mad because you were at the airport on your show and you would not state anything because you did not have the receipts. And it made a lot of people mad. I was not one of them, but it made a lot of people mad. But I understood.
Because again, it's about the investigative process.
Yes.
Right. And it took me a few months to maneuver, to open a dialogue with Dyer, because Dyer was trying to drop me in on it. And there was a lot of psychological things going on. And it's all in the book, basically. It's very complicated, sordid story.
Right.
It's Hollywood material, really, when you think about it. Because you start this mission off, it's this team hoaxing, and it turns out to be so much different. And like, wow, this is about financial crimes.
Right.
Let me, not crimes, but malfeasance. Right. It's about financial.
It's about using Bigfoot as a financial vehicle.
Right. Yeah. And not necessarily the most ethical way. Right. And, and you know what? I feel comfortable about that, because if they ever tried to come at me with that, then I would be able to subpoena all the bankruptcy records, all the financial materials for that records, which would uncover what Yogita Patel found out about Cedar Mortgage or Cedar Funding writing checks to searching for Bigfoot. So it would have me to call some people and ask them tough questions like, "Hey, did you get money from so-and-so? Well, how come the balance sheet here says they didn't have that kind of money in the bank?"
Well, yeah, my big question was, why was your CEO sentenced to prison?
Or CFO,
excuse me, CFO.
Right. And why did the CEO start another business up with him after his indictment and after he had resigned from right, searching for Bigfoot? Because they made him resign from searching for Bigfoot, but all of a sudden, months later, he's starting.
Mick says, "Steve, who's going to play you in the movie version of this event?"
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel. All right. Or The Rock. The Rock.
No. He's got to be. I'm not quite that muscular. And not quite that tattooed. Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? Anyway, I'm sorry.
But I mean, it boils down to character, and what you do when nobody is looking determines your character.
it all comes down to every day I make a decision. What would my father do? My father grew up in the world's greatest generation. He was born 1919, joined the New York National Guard in 1937, 2-year hitch, got out in 1940, became a welder for the Brooklyn Navy Yard, right? Got drafted in 43, was supposed to be assigned to General Patton's Third Army. He was in Belgium. He was in Holland. He was spent like 3-4 months posted behind Remagen, the bridge at Remagen. Hence, remember the movie A Bridge Too Far?
Yeah.
That was the bridge at Remagen. So he had seen it all. Stayed stayed in the occupation of Czechoslovakia at a POW camp until he was finally relieved of duty and went home. And then he became a motorman for the New York City subway and did that and retired in 72. And in 72, he moved his wife and his 3.5-year-old son to upstate New York. And that's where I've been since. And, there's a man that survived the Great Depression, that saw bread lines, that saw the New Deal, that saw World War II, and always gave me the appreciation for veterans, raised 2 sons, one who was a military policeman and another one who was was a police officer that got promoted into basically CSI for his department. So I had some great role models in my life. And, I every time I make a decision, and my brother, and my one brother who was the cop was very much alive, and my name means something. So, Chris, a lot of times you tell me to calm down or, because I get fired up sometimes. It's because of my name. I have too much respect for my family name to bring disrespect upon it. Right. Am I perfect? No. Do I make mistakes? Absolutely. Have I done anything in the public to destroy my integrity? No. Have I done anything in public to deserve my integrity to be destroyed? No. It's, when it comes to relationships, have I done things perfectly? No. Have I done things,
well, nobody's perfect, bud.
All right, nobody's perfect. But I've always tried to have compassion. I've always tried to have empathy. Yeah. And even if I act sometimes like a royal class asshole, it's very short-lived. And yeah, I can be that guy. That's why there's a sign in the doorway back here that hangs in the entrance to my door, "Don't poke the bear." Yeah, in case you haven't noticed, my family is not, the family males are not known, and actually the family females too, is ask anybody that knows my daughter. The family temper is very quick sometimes and very fiery, but it's very short-lived. It's not a resentment. We don't carry resentment. At least I don't. Yeah. That's why I can, I don't hold a lot of grudges. I don't hold a lot of animosity. I have animosity towards Biscari. Truth be told, well, he did a lot of hurt in my life. He did a lot of hurt in other people's lives. Todd Standing, no, not at all. Sasquatch Ontario, no. It's just a matter of truth. There, it's all very clinical. But when you drag me into something and you try to hurt me, then that brings it to a whole nother level. It's kind of like calling yourself a friend and cutting a video on you.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we focus mainly on Bigfoot education now, and I think that's a good thing. And unfortunately, part of education in this field is exposing hoaxes and hoaxers. So if that hoaxer presents any sort of evidence, you need to question it.
No. I know. She even said, I'm just messing with you. No, I'm your type A personality a lot of times.
Right.
And then the funny thing is the bomb drops. If somebody dropped a nuke down the block for me tomorrow, I'd be like, okay, let's do this, and this. The amazing thing is anytime I'm in emergency situations, I was a paramedic, I was a firefighter, I was an investigator. Things would happen. I'd be like, sometimes, not always. The investigator thing, it was towards the end, I was starting to get a little short-tempered with people. I'm like, I'm done with this. I'm at the age now where people kind of annoy me a bit. Sometimes it's the get off the lawn age. So that's why I kind of stepped out of being an investigator. I was getting a little cranky with that. But yeah, when I got back to the ambulance, I was like, okay, oh yeah, guys in cardiac arrest, let's do our thing. You do this, you do that, you do this. That's what I'm trained to do.
Well, I think, because you exposed the Bigfoot body hoax back in the day, and because you recently exposed a photograph that you were challenged to find on the internet.
Right.
I think, you expose those things as hoaxes, and there are people that would have made money off those hoaxes that may try to go after you and soil your name because you've exposed them for what and who they are.
Right.
And so I wouldn't take it personally, but I think it's important to do shows like this that explain when they do a video like that, a hit piece, that explain a little and talk a little bit about the subject.
Right. Because I'm not afraid to.
Right.
Like,
right.
If I was guilty of any of their shit they said, I'd be hiding under the covers. People ask me, why do you take it head on? Because I take it head on because they're lying, and that annoys me. They're besmirching my name. If I did something wrong, I'd be the first one to say, hey, listen, I messed up. Yeah.
So I just want to drive that point home that because you worked with the Searching for Bigfoot team, that does not mean you were complicit in the Bigfoot body hoax. Matter of fact, you exposed
the fact is that I wasn't working for the Searching for Bigfoot team. I wasn't even contracted at the time by them.
During the videos they showed, though, you were.
Right. No, I was not.
I thought you received
I left being a contract for them in February of 2008.
Yeah, that but I'm talking about the videos that they showed on their hit piece. You were working for them at that time.
Except the time at the body hoax.
Yes, right.
At the body hoax, I was not paid for that. I was not under contract for that.
Right.
I invited myself to that, and they were like, hey, I can't get you out there. I can't pay for you to come out there. I'll go myself. What was he going to do? Right? Matt Whitten, who is probably the most honest person out of everybody involved in this, not only backed up what Rick Dyer had said to me in February of 2009, but I remember last time I talked to Matt Whitten, I think was 2012 when Dyer started doing his other hoax again.
Yeah.
And this is what Whitten said to me. He goes, after all these years thinking about this, I was a cop. And I thought this was going to be funny and jokey and whatnot. And he goes, it hurt a lot of people. And I started feeling bad about that. I really felt bad. And he was the first anyone to ever say, you know what, I fucked up. I made a mistake. And I appreciate that. And then one of my last questions is, so what was the big mistake? He goes, the biggest mistake was letting you on the scene.
Well, if you hadn't have been there, things could have certainly turned a different direction.
Right. Yep.
And I think that's all the questions I've got, Steve.
All right. Anybody got questions in chat? We'll take them now. If not, we'll say our adieus.
But it's been a fun night.
Yep.
And again, a lot of people got hurt on this, and it's.
Yeah, I mean, and Batmom, yeah, Batmom understands completely what it's like to be lied at, and she understands the way I get about it. if the truth is on your side, I'm taking this thing dead on. I don't care. I don't care how repetitive it gets. If they have a vehicle to get it out there, I'm going to have a bigger vehicle to get it out there, because I'll tell you what. In the 36 days that video has been up, it has gotten, when I visited, it had 19 views.
Yeah, I was one of them.
19. No, you weren't on there at the time.
Oh, okay.
All right. Listen, 19 views. So that means maybe by 2030, maybe 2031, they'll have the same number of views that we have subscribers today. Remember that. My message, this part is for searching for Bigfoot, whoever did that. You can leave it up. I don't care. I've already downloaded it. But you keep it up, you will keep being my target. Simple as that. You will keep being my target. I don't care what videos. I have the documents. I have the trump cards. Not to get political.
Well, yeah. Again, we're not in the exposing hoaxers business. We're in the education business.
That's the whole thing. And a lot of people think that I'm in the exposing hoaxes business. I'm in the investigation business. Right. Something's real. I'm going to say, hey, it's real. It's like when I put a team out in the field, I have a security team that goes out pre-hand, make sure it's not contaminated, right? Make sure that there's nobody there that, I make sure that nobody knows that we're going to be up in that area, and I get a feeling.
With Mick and Nikki, they came in a little bit late tonight. What this show was about, and the reason why it was thrown together quickly, and just at the last moment, was this was a response to a hit piece that was put out, a little short, brief video that was put out on searching for Bigfoot, and it was a hit piece on Steve Kulls, and it was more or less saying that he claimed that the team and everybody were hoaxers and liars. But they showed him when he was with the team. And at no point did Steve ever say anybody on the team was hoaxing or lying. And So
I like that too. You may have heard of Steve Kulls. Well, I'll tell you what, more people have heard of Steve Kulls in the last 10 years than searching for Bigfoot. I guarantee you that.
Steve.
Oh, no, I don't care. I don't care. They want to do a hit piece on me.
So we wanted to talk about that piece, and we wanted to discuss the video without showing it. We wanted to discuss some of the video clips that they placed in there. And each one of those clips where Steve was with the Searching for Bigfoot team was a legitimate investigation that they were on. And then we got into, and Steve at no time said any of those guys had ever hoaxed or lied about anything. There was no evidence anyway to support that. Isn't that correct, Steve?
That is
and then,
correct.
Yeah, we ended up on the Bigfoot body hoax, the Georgia Bigfoot body hoax. And that's where the accusation of hoaxing or somebody wanting to be complicit in hoaxing was made.
Right.
And no other place.
Right. And the fact that they're bringing up an event.
Right.
That is.
Steve has all the receipts. Yes.
I mean, this is going on over 16 years.
Right.
16 years ago, this happened. But you know what? I documented it. I just showed the whole file folder of stuff. I've showed you documents because I keep that stuff. And I kept hard copies of that stuff, not soft copies.
So again,
things like receipts.
Yeah. Steve doesn't have anything personal against anybody over there.
No, I have nothing personal against the team. Nothing at all. There's only one, like I said, nothing personal is Biscardi for the you would think that he would be apologetic to me. I'm sorry I was wrong. At least that much. Right? Nothing.
No.
He's acting like he is so innocent and everything. He's not. Not. Dude, he was the one who went on, I touched it, smelled it, felt it. Then he tells us, well, it was frozen. Well, how can you touch it, smell it, feel it if it's frozen? How can you describe its testicles when it's frozen? Right. So guess what? You're a liar. You're a liar. You either lied before the fact or after the fact. Either way. That's the bottom line. No. If you can't admit that, you're not a man. Simple as that. You're a child. Simple as that. You can't admit you're wrong. You cannot admit you're wrong. You're a child.
We don't want to rub salt in old wounds.
They were responsible for doing that, not me.
But since they brought it up, we can talk about it.
Right.
We have, and I think we've pretty much cleared everything up.
Right.
I saw what, I don't know how that they would associate you working with them at one point in time and doing legitimate research. I don't know that they would associate that with them not being a hoax or discussing the Bigfoot body.
They're trying to lay the groundwork that I am not an honest person. That I work with them, and now I'm calling them all hoaxes and stuff like that, when back then I said it was real. I've never, ever said any of that was hoaxing. 2012, I put it in print.
Right. Yeah, it's all there. Yeah. So, I'm just glad we got this all out, addressed.
I agree. And I'm glad I got what I had to say off my chest. Now they can hear that message loud and clear. You want to keep screwing with me? Keep screwing with me. You know what? As long as that video stays up, you still have an enemy in me. Take that video down. Maybe I'll forget and leave you alone. Just don't have one of your little agents try to taunt me with a picture saying, find this on the internet, because damn it, and this, Tom, I'll find it. Just like I find things like receipts.
Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. This has been an interesting show.
You're seeing Steve in WWE mode tonight. Let me tell you something, brother.
We appreciate
what you gonna do what you gonna do when the 19-inch pythons run wild on you?
We appreciate you guys joining us on a short notice here, especially on Wednesday night. We don't normally do this, but it's becoming a habit, it seems like.
Oh, yeah.
But, you guys are the greatest audience we could ever hope for. And we appreciate each and every one of you, and we're honored and thrilled that you'd want to hang out with us. So thank you, guys. We'll see you Friday night and again Sunday night.
And, hey, guys, it's been fun. And thank you for allowing me to vent a little bit to my audience. I know sometimes, and for some who are listening to this and like, wow, this is not really what, this is a one-off. Occasionally we do something like this, especially when I take something very personal to heart, my integrity, right? And I'm gonna have the final wrap, and then we'll say goodnight. I take my integrity very seriously. When I put evidence out there or I say something, I have receipts. I have enough documentation to prove. If I put evidence out there, it's the real thing, or it's allegedly the real thing. It's real evidence. It's not a hoax, because we always try to debunk something that's a potential hoax. And when I say something is a hoax, I will have the receipts to it. And if I don't have the receipts for it, I'll explain to you why I may think it's a hoax, not just outright say it's a hoax or shenanigans or anything like that. Right. So maybe everybody will get that message eventually. But for those who are new to the channel, this is a one-off type of a deal here, and we don't do this all too often. But when there's an attack, we fight it. I fight it head on, because I have the truth on my side. I'm not worried about that. I don't mix truth with half-truths, and that's their angle of attack. They've done it with a number of things in the past. And I can give you countless examples. Hand of unknown origin, the Homo erectus skeleton they found, and of course, Steve Kulls is a liar. They tell half-truths. And in that case, they told the ultimate truth based on half-truths. He was with the team, and now he's calling the team liars, which is, I was with the team, but I didn't call them liars. I only call one person a liar, Tom Biscardi. Still do. Have the proof. Anyway, we go back here Friday night with an all-new Friday Night Bigfoot. And it's going to be a great show. We're not quite yet sure. I do know what it's going to be about. We're going to go over some social media pictures. And we're going to analyze them live on the air. I already got one done. I'm going to get a couple more done before the show. And we'll discuss those Friday night. And then Sunday, I'm so excited about Sunday night. Sunday night for a big show. We are going to have psychologist Dr. John Baranchuk on. He's going to be talking about his book on Bigfoot. And going to be so much. We're going to have a great discussion there. All things about how people react when they see Bigfoot. How people reason why they hoax or why they may hold on to things. Again, it's going to be a great show. Right up my alley. Forensic interviewer interviewing a psychologist for the benefit of everybody. So it's going to be a great educational night that night. Again, Dr. John Baranchuk, Chuck, for Sunday night. And Friday night, we'll be doing Bigfoot evidence review from social media. And until that time, I want to wish everybody a great night. Stay safe. We'll catch you all in a couple of days. We love you guys. Thanks for being here. And we'll catch you all in a couple of days.
We thank you for being here with us on Squatch-D TV. If you haven't taken the time yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And oh yes, hit that notification bell too. We don't want you to miss anything. If you really like our content, you should consider becoming a member. And it's really inexpensive and a great way to support not only the show, but honest Bigfoot research. Everyone have a great week. Be safe and God bless. We will see you all here next time on Squatch-D TV. Keep on squatching.
Ba-da-bop. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Oh, yeah.